So this is my new to me 1993 Bobcat 853. I bought this from the State Federal Property Agency in South Dakota. Brought it back down here to Texas. I think originally it was a Navy vehicle because they've got all the markings on there with the weights, and also because there's a form in there from NavSup right there, and that's the Navy Supply Group. So I think the Navy had it first, and then the guy in South Dakota told me that they bought it from the state of Georgia, who I guess bought it from the Navy after they were done with it. There's some intra-governmental agency. So in June of 2020, the South Dakota people bought it from Georgia, and I think it came from UGA, hence because of the sticker. Excess federal property. So UGA had it for who knows how long, until 2020 when they sold it. The guy from South Dakota said as soon as it arrived in their shop, and they buy these things sight unseen, their mechanic looked at it and said, nope, not going to touch it. So it sat in South Dakota for 2 years, June of 20, and it's now May of 22. So for 2 years it sat there. I guess they're prohibited from selling it. If anybody happens to know what these markings are, 4503901 means, love to hear that. I did see that also marked in here. Some mechanic wrote that in there. They wrote 4.5, or is it 4:5? Hard to tell. So my goal was to see what it looks like. Well, when I got it and saw there, it was in pretty rough shape. The tires are in excellent condition. I could probably sell those and get all my money back. Not. To get the engine out, I got a copy of the manual. And so what I'm going to try to do now is just walk everybody through getting the engine out using the manual, because I found a lot of videos on how to get it out, but that was just sort of people who had experience. I've never had a Bobcat before, so I had to get the manual and do it all step by step, and that's where I am sort of going right now. All right, so the manual, which you can find on the web, mine falls under here, and there's this version, and there's the electronic control version, and mine falls into this serial number. So step by step, I'll sort of walk you through where everything is. So raise the cab. Well, the cab's over there. I took it off because it was too hard for me, given my ceiling height and my lean-to work with it on. And this thing, by the way, has about 3,700 hours, so the meter says. Who knows if it's an original meter, but that's what I've got so far. Okay, so raise the cab, that's done. Disconnect the case drain hose 1A. So those are the hydraulics. The tank is usually right there. I already took it off because I need to get out of the room. This is the back side of the hydraulic tank. There's the top of it, you can see there. And there's the connector. This was already disconnected when I got it, so clearly people have been trying to work on this and done some work. And that's the other outlet that they want you to disconnect. So that's pretty easy. Take those out, great. Then here on the fuel hose, it says disconnect the fuel hose clamps. Those are right there. That's pretty easy to do. Then you take the fan belt off, and that's right there. That's pretty easy to take off. That's the fan belt. Then loosen the hose clamps and remove the hose from the filter and hydrostatic pump. Okay, so this was step one of getting very confused, because my model has no hose clamps on any hose coming anywhere near a filter. So that's what took me a while to figure out where exactly they were referring to. So on this model, it is here's the filters, and I finally could figure out you got 4 bolts here and you got 4 bolts here. It's got to be right here, but then again, it's pretty clear. There is no, there's no hose clamp right there for sure. So that I had no access to get there with any kind of tools I've got. And on tools, this stuff is all SAE. So you're gonna need 1 5/8, 1.5 1.25 inch. There's some metric stuff on the engine because the engine is made by Isuzu, but everything else on the hydraulics, Bobcat has used SAE. So you're gonna need larger inches. Couldn't get that side off, so what I ended up doing was taking the other end, which is that side. So that end of the hose came off, that's fine. Because when you take the engine out, the way they have it designed, the hydraulics and the engine are gonna come out together. So if you can't get one side of a hose, get the other. All right, so you got that. Disconnect the wires. There's some wires down here, no big deal. Let's to get those out. There's one right there that connects right here. This ground wire, this part stays with the engine. There's another wire right down here that I've yet to disconnect. That was not on the disconnect part that I could see. Or maybe it was, but I've got to get that one off. Disconnect the electrical harnesses. These are the harnesses that were up here connecting to the cab. There's 3 of them. So as soon as you get those out, they're actually down here now. And it's these 3. They're zip tied, or they're screwed in right here, like that. And it's these 3 harnesses. I had to put some lubricant on there, some dry lube, and then use 2 set of pliers to get those things off because they were stuck. Okay, wires are out. There was no ground wire. That it mentions disconnect the ground wire. I didn't have a ground wire. Now disconnect the hose. Okay, so in this picture here we have hoses 1, 2, and 3. Again, my unit didn't look like this, but I could kind of figure out down here there was 3 hoses that I was able to disconnect. That was no big deal. That was pretty simple. The big problem came when it shows you this picture right here, and it says disconnect the, it says mark the high, these are the high pressure ones, they're big. Mark the high pressure hoses for correct installation, and then disconnect the 4 high pressure hoses marked 2. So that was the big sticker because in my version, I don't have 4 on one side. It's these big hoses right here. This goes to the left side, and they're fairly easily gotten off from here. There's one there that connects to there, and another one down to here. But the other 2 were the problem, because the other 2 are on the back side, way back here. So this one was attached right there, and I was able to get that guy off. And you're going to need every bit of country mechanic creativity you can get to get access to that guy. I ended up welding a hook onto a slide hammer I had, onto some extra threaded rod, and I could use that threaded rod to put on the end, or the hook to put on the end of that wrench there, because I had big metric wrenches. I didn't have any big SAE stuff. So putting that together, putting the hook on there, and using the slide hammer allowed me to get the right angle to get that off. So that's 3. The problem one is number 4, and number 4 is still right there. That guy, he's still on there because I don't know how in the world you can get any kind of access down there. So that was impossible. So if you can't get that side of it, obviously you got to go back to the other idea, which is go to the other end of the hose. And the other end of that hose is down here. And of course, as luck would have it, it's not the first hose you see, it's behind it on the second part. It's connected back here. So you got to take this front part off, all right, which I did. And you can do that with, and these are pretty big hoses. And I thought I was going to take these adapters off, these swivel adapters. I didn't have to. I ended up being able to get that guy off because he was easily accessible. And then from here, you could get both up and in and get access from right here, from this angle. And that's the second hose right there. You can see the top of it. And I got that through in here. Now, as you're looking at that chain, you'll see another special bonus in this one. This was a freewheeling version of the 853. And I say freewheeling because when I bought this, those are the chains right there. Those chains were loose down in here. So this guy clearly has a lot of love coming. I think there's 4 chains, 2 on this side and 2 on this side. I guess one goes there, one goes there, one goes there. I don't know if that's 2 of them or that's one of them that's broken in half. but clearly I'm missing some more chains. All right, so once you figure out what that is, that's not too bad, but that took a while. And then you've got disconnect the high pressure hose from the hydraulic pump. That's right here. That's not too bad, except for it's angled, you'll see. So I had to get one wrench held up this way and then use the pressure that way because it's kind of curved, and then I was able to use the big crescent wrench I had to get access to that. The case drain filter hose, that was pretty easily found. That wasn't a big deal. Oh, and then now you're down to the engine mounts. Well, the engine mounts are easy, so to speak. One was down there. It was rusted to heck. Couldn't turn that. I got a plasma cutter, tried that, couldn't use that. Ended up getting the Sawzall and cutting that one off. And as difficult as that one was, the other one that's down in the inside of there was easy because it wasn't bolted in anything. So it was equally difficult as the first one was on the left side. The right side was a lot easier. Okay, so those two came out, and now you go to the back side of the engine. All right, so remove the battery. Oh, that was another exciting part. Give me a sense of how old this thing is. This battery is dated April of 2001. So that's one sense how old it is. The other sense I got was there was a 6-pack of empty Bud Light and a Powerade. And the Powerade is from January 23rd of 2012, as were the Best Buy dates on the 6-pack of Bud Light. So Bobcat maintenance guys must love Bud Lights. So this thing hadn't been looked at, or I guess has been in need of repair since 2012. And who knows if it was dead before then. So at least 10 years it has been in need of some kind of repair. All right, so now that you're back here, remove the battery. Battery's back here. That was all kind of corroded. That was pretty straightforward. Then you remove the air cleaner housing. The air cleaner housing was right here. It is that piece right there. Took that off. That's pretty simple. Then you take off the air horn, which is the thing that bolts onto here, then connects to the air hose. It's the thing that's still attached to the hose over there. You can see it right there. Air horn comes off. Then, let's see, plug the intake manifold, did that. Remove the rear grill. That's the thing that's up here. There are just two pins you pull out here, one there, and that guy comes off. That's not a difficult thing at all. Remove the muffler. Yeah, so this muffler is right here. I got one of the special edition 2-part mufflers with my Bobcat. And you say, what exactly is that? Well, that's a muffler that comes into 2 parts. So clearly you're going to be needing a new muffler as well. But once you unbolt that, he comes out pretty easily. And then you have to kind of bang this. This is just kind of fit in with those clamps. And my clamps had totally rusted, given the age of this thing. So that'll have to be replaced with a new muffler as well. Okay, loosen the radiator cap. Well, that was easy. I didn't have a radiator cap, so that was not a problem. Connect the hose to the engine block drain, open the drain and drain the coolant. That actually was pretty easy. Here's the drain connector. I put the hose on, but it was like one drip every 10 seconds, so I unscrewed the whole thing. It all came out and put a hose, and then it drained in. That was pretty easy. Okay, now loosen the hose clamp, take the radiator hose off at both ends. So the one end of the radiator hose is right here. That's pretty simple. The other end is right there. That's pretty simple. That came out. Disconnect the electrical connector. That's this guy right here for the lights. That's simple. Remove the coolant recovery tank and bracket. Well, that goes right here, and it's this little U bracket. I don't see where I put it, but I did not have a coolant recovery tank. Don't know if that was not standard. I have to imagine it was. So I think at some point, oh yeah, sure. Here it is. That's the hose for it. And the wasps, like everything else, plug that up. So I will need a new coolant recovery tank there once I get done with everything. Okay, disconnect the throttle linkage. That's this right here. And that sorry, that's this right here. That attaches right there. And from the bell crank, disconnect the ground cable. That's down here. Ground cable's attached right here. I put the bolts underneath so I don't lose them. With the ground cable off, you also disconnect this fuel line from right here. He comes out, and this guy was right here. He comes out. This was already cut, so don't know how and where that was going to go. To figure out the schematics on the fuel lines once I put it back together. Okay, fuel hose is done. That's fuel return hose. Got that done. Left engine mount and bolt, and the right engine mount and bolt. Those are pretty easy too. The left side is right here, and the right side is right there. And that little thing needs to come out. That's just the sleeve for it. Mounts are shot, they're gonna need to come out too, as is everything else around. Okay, so now it says, this is where it's kind of fun. Use the dimensions from figure C to make the engine removal and installation brackets. So I'll let you stare at that for a second. You can do a screenshot if you need your measurements. And what you're making, and I made it and I'll show you what it looks like, but it's this. You're welding that together, then you cut that, so it's 3 different pieces you're gonna end up with. Here is the bracket. This will go behind the cap, and this bolt here will attach to the engine lift position spot right here. And this hole here attaches to another piece I made. It's on the instructions. This piece here. So these 2 holes bolt to the engine right there. And that hole there bolts to this guy like this. And so then this is attached to this, which is attached to the engine, and this side is attached to the engine. So now you have it firmly attached like this, and that's where this guy comes in. And this guy is just 1.5 inch tubing. They way over engineer this, and that is 1 inch thick steel that you then have to tap 3/8/16 holes into. And then you angle that as such, and it fits in like that, and you bolt them in like that, and then the whole thing fits like that, and then you lift the hook up on that guy, lift it up, and out she comes. At least that's what's gonna happen as soon as I get done with this. So that was pretty simple. Not easy. That was a lot of cutting and welding and finding the right thickness of tubing. And I'll let you do another shot of that if you need it. And so that's pretty much it, and then it shows how you lift it like that. Other items of note, that's about it. I mean, there's so much work on this thing, it's gonna be needed. I don't even know. One exciting part was when you do have to take the rocker cover off to get this piece here on, because this blocks it. When I took the rocker cover off, I did notice one of my arms inside was already broken, so that was kind of exciting. Yet another thing that was broken, and hopefully maybe that was the only thing that was broken in there, and that's when they made him quit, because they could hear it not working. Don't know. We'll get more done when we start tearing it apart and see what it looks like. But that's how you get the engine out, and good luck with it.